Really, what I want to discuss is the election. Let's say in general, some of these thoughts are going to be me echoing the same sentiments that I had in 2016. Definitely after the election, before, but certainly up to it. In which I want you to sit and think about this, no matter where you're at, no matter what time of day you're listening to this, if you are listening to it, at least before we find out what the results of the election will be. It may not be for days, weeks, when we actually find the true. We might know the landscape, let's say that today, but we may not know who actually won the election. I want you to sit and think about this because more than ever, certainly in my my time of living, more than ever, people have this sort of odd cling to politics. It's really something that's very unique to American culture, though it's not exclusive to American culture. But politics kind of runs aspects of our lives. It's gotten so bad, definitely in the coming decades, where man, this whole voting thing, get out, go vote, vote, vote. Every blue check mark, you can't go anywhere with people telling you, make sure you go do this. The election of our lifetime, though they said that the election before and the election before. But I do want you to sit here and take a deep breath, because depending on the results, a lot of y'all are so consumed by politics that you're going to be freaking out one way or the other, depending if your guy wins or loses. Or rather, if the other guy, the guy that you didn't want to have the power, gets a hold of the power and wins. We know what happened in 2016, and a lot of y'all had absolute meltdowns. It was a great time for memes. But, I had to sit and think about how, emotionally distraught a lot of y'all have allowed yourselves to become. And it's solely based on which way the election goes. I don't think that is a safe thing. I don't think it's good for your health. Hell, I don't. So what I would love for you guys to do, no matter where you're at, and you're thinking and you're pondering on this as you're going into the election, think about how your life, let's say this, how it will change, seriously, depending on who wins. Your actual life, not your life on social media or the life you try to put on in terms of a front. I'm saying your actual life. Some more than others, depending on what your career is, may be changed more or less, right? It really does depend on what your career is, where you're at, and so forth in terms of how it will impact your life. I think that's the term that we more so want to use instead of change, how it will impact your life. If it's whether Trump, Biden, whoever wins, how that will impact your life. It may be of greater or less detail. But for the vast majority of you guys, I understand where you're at. I know that the world is all hyped up on the election, let's say that, on politics right now, and they have you believing the world is what it is. Sometimes, oftentimes, if not all the time, it is a completely different thing. But ponder on how your life is actually going to be impacted by this election. And for most of you guys, it will be rather insignificant in terms of who won and lost. That's one way, meaning that it may change. It's not going to be such a great change depending on whether Trump or Biden wins. But more so what I want to say in terms of your personal life is that a lot of that is going to be determined by what's around you. So, and by what's around you, I mean you. So is it really worth getting so worked up to where you're screaming? And I know some of you might be like, well, maybe this more so applies to the leftists. Maybe it does. We already have an example of what they did in 2016. Is it really worth screaming and yelling into the abyss, losing your mind, crying on video, posting that for whatever reason, pulling your hair out? Is it really worth doing all of that, depending on, well, let's say Biden or Trump win? Me personally, I don't think that, and I will tell you why. That's because when it comes to the great impact of your life, for the most part, I understand there will be exceptions depending on where you're at. But for the most part, your life is going to continue as is, and you are going to be most responsible for your environment. Whether you put yourself in, whether you put the people that you love in, your family, most, if not all of that will be determined by you, not by Biden, not by Donald Trump. So as the election, or more so the results of the election, we get closer to that, I think that's something you should ponder on. Take a deep breath and look around you and say, damn, is my livelihood resting upon who wins this election? For most of you, it's not. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be consequences. That doesn't even mean that there won't be things in which will impact your life. I'm just saying that if there was a pie on, let's say, the pie itself represents the makeup of how your livelihood is going to be determined. Who determines it, right? Who wins the presidency is going to be a significantly smaller portion on the rest, in terms of a representation of that pie, representative on that pie. It's going to be a rather small, if not insignificant amount. There'll be other things that will determine that. And this is why I don't think you can pay attention all you want. I will certainly be paying attention and talking about it. But I don't think it's worth losing your damn mind over. I didn't think it was worth losing your mind over in 2016. Didn't think it was worth losing your mind over, obviously, as I matured, with the 2012 election. It's not worth it. Because there's other things that you do that will more so impact your life and your own personal livelihood, be it in your family, your house, your whatever it is. We understand that the state, or we understand that the presidency controls this, and that. We do. We understand that. But don't have them controlling your emotions as well. Don't have them having great control where your own morale, right? Your personal morale rests upon who wins a damn election. It's not worth it. It is not worth it. So take a deep breath. Look at the world for what it is, not how media is shaping it to be or painting it to be. Look at it for what it actually is. And you'd be surprised how much better you feel when you say, damn, at the end of the day, I have this, and this that is going to be determined by factors that have absolutely little to nothing to do with the presidential election or who wins the presidential election. Take a deep breath, guys. That's all I'm saying. No matter where you're at on the political spectrum, whether you're who you listen, just take a damn breath. It is not worth losing your mind over, depending on if your guy wins or loses, or the more so, probably perhaps more worth talking about, if the guy that you don't want to get the power ends up getting that power or ends up becoming the president. Take a deep breath. I actually may think, and this may be the silver lining in this, and that next week, which is absolutely crazy to believe that next week is after the, obviously after the election. For most, we'll know at least the landscape of the election. We may not know the actual result, but we'll have a better idea of the landscape. But next week, the next generation of consoles come out. That may be the silver lining for a lot of folks, because it may get y'all to calm the hell down and understand that. And maybe that was a strategic thing by way of them to say, hey, we're going to have this after the election. And I'm being serious. It may be jokes and giggles and stuff, but y'all know where I come from. I come from a more cultural perspective. I think politics are the lagging indicator of culture, and culture is far more important. And I'm being dead serious. You may think, oh, well, he's just joking. And no, I'm serious. Like, there's escapism, and escapism is a very good thing. It's a necessary thing if you, are a person that's like myself, tied up into politics by way of your profession. I think it's an absolutely necessary thing to be involved with something that has some sort of form of escapism. That's why I gripe and complain so much about what they're doing to the comic books, because this is my escapism, and I don't want that crap infiltrating that. And I think that's a very necessary thing. But seriously, with the next generation of consoles, this may, coming out, obviously, this may be a time which people can say, you know what, we can relax. We have something else to take our minds off of this a little bit, and maybe life ain't as bad as what the media or what my friends or what everybody is hyping us up to be. That's all I'm saying. Relax, guys. Just relax.